Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I released that video and I was late to the party, but people seem to still be enjoying it. And I think it was a successful video, but I was late to the party on the Michael Bisping Ariel Helwani beef that has been reinvigorated as of late because Michael Bisping went on fighting with Froch for Carl Froch's podcast. Again, I don't really know who he is. I guess he's a boxer, but I just don't really know too much about boxing. But anyways, he invited Michael Bisping on and Bisping went on a rant against Ariel Helwani. So this was what I talked about yesterday in the video. Michael Bisping called him a total dickhead and went on to say some other negative things. And I said in the video, hey, will Ariel respond? I said 52% chance I think he will respond. Well, once again, I was late to the party and I checked his show today to see if he would respond. He did not. But then I realized, let me look at last week's shows and see if he did respond there. He did respond. Somebody brought it up and I missed it. Now I'm here to cover it because you know me. I do like these beefs. What can I say? So just a quick refresh. This is, again, just a short excerpt of what Michael Bisping said about Ariel, just to refresh your memory. And again, in yesterday's video, I went through from the beginning when Michael Bisping first lashed out at Ariel. Ariel called him bootlicker Bisping. And then he went on to this show and says what he says. So I'm going to show you this part right here. And then I'm going to show you Ariel's response, which is brutal. And as I mentioned yesterday, in the video yesterday, Ariel is not somebody you want to get into an online beef with because he's got the following, he's got the words, he's got the ability to construct and correct an accurate narrative, and pretty much he will smoke anybody, almost anybody, in an online beef such as this. So check this out, just to refresh your memory. This is what Michael Bisping said on this recent podcast.
He's a total dickhead. He's definitely up there as well. See, I don't think about him. I was thinking about fighters. All he does is try and manufacture beef with other fighters, so it makes him look good and it keeps him current. All he does is hate on the UFC. That's like his whole MO. You know,
right, okay. I'm glad you've confirmed
the UFC.
I'm glad you've confirmed that for me. So he is the biggest knobhead in MMA pretty much then. But is he not in MMA, would you say?
He's not in MMA. He would love to be in MMA. Yeah. He's a journalist that covers the sport, and he's not even worth my breath because
I'm going to pause it there. So again, that's just a quick recap. Michael Bisping just doubles down on what he said before. And I said in the video yesterday, I was almost surprised to see Michael Bisping doing this because it actually appeared to me once on a live stream, or I can't remember what exactly it was, but Michael Bisping seemed to be shying away from talking about Ariel. And it seemed to me that he didn't want to engage anymore because when Ariel lit him up and called him bootlicker Bisping, he got a lot of people in his comments and in his chat calling him out. I think fans of Ariel Helwani. So it seemed to me that he said, you know what, I'm going to steer clear of this beef. I don't want to engage with Ariel just because it's a fight that pretty much Ariel is going to win. So I was surprised to see him come back and double down on these comments. He even mentions in the video, now watch, Ariel's going to see this and he's going to make a 5 or 10 minute video responding to this. And Ariel basically did exactly that. So I thought Ariel was going to, more likely than not, only because Ariel is always one to stand up for himself and make a clarifying statement or rebuttal when somebody is talking about him negatively that is in the wrong, that they're painting an untrue narrative. So I figured he probably, I just wasn't totally sure, but he did. And I missed it. And it was last week. And it was pretty darn brilliant, I must say. Not to say that I'm not again, I've mentioned this yesterday in the video. I am a fan of Michael Bisping. I'm a fan of both of these guys. I'm a fan of anybody who is in the sport of MMA that's making the sport better and more entertaining. Both of these guys do that, I feel like. But you got to give credit to Ariel here because I will say, in my opinion, I still don't understand really why, unless something happened between Michael Bisping and Ariel, I don't understand where the hate is coming from. And if you believe Ariel's narrative, which I think I'm inclined to believe it, they had a great relationship. And then all of a sudden, Michael Bisping seemed to distance himself and then started talking negatively about Ariel. But I don't think there was an actual event that triggered it. Maybe his opinion of him was damaged or modified just from working with the UFC and with Dana White. And so maybe that's why he started to have a change of heart, a change of opinion. I don't really know. But anyways, Ariel heard the comments, listen to this response. I'm going to comment throughout as we play this, but it's what we come to expect, the classic 10-7 covered on 10-7 MMA. Here we go.
I will be 100% honest with all of you. On Sunday, someone tweeted me about bootlicker Bisping and Flat Earth Froch talking about me, and sometimes when I know that people say something about me, like I'll go find the clip and I'll feel some sort of way about it. On my life, on my kid's life, I didn't search it, I didn't look for it. it did nothing to me. It meant nothing to me.
Just a side note. I don't actually have kids, but I would never swear on my kid's life, even if I know I'm 100% true. Isn't that just seems, I don't know. That's just like, I would never, I have a little baby doggy. I would never swear on his life. It's just something regardless of what I'm trying to say, or even if I know it's 1,000% true, I would never do it. Right. I'm just pointing that out. That's like weird to me when people do that. I saw somebody do that on a TV show recently. I'm like, why would you even say those words and throw that out there? Anyways, I digress. Just a little strange thing. Maybe a lot of people do this and it's not a big deal. But anyways.
And maybe that's growth. Maybe that's maturity. I don't know. The next day, I was tagged in a clip. And so I watched it. And my takeaway wasn't feeling mad, angry. Oh, sometimes I see the clip. I want to come on here, 10-7, hit him up, all this stuff. I'll even ask the guy, should I answer? Should I not? Should I respond? This and that. They'll say one thing. I'll ignore it. I'll come on. I'll do it. That never happened. That never happened as well. My takeaway was I felt really sad for Michael Bisping. I felt really sad for Michael Bisping because I can't imagine what it would be like to have once been a bad boy, to have once been a rule breaker, to have once been a pioneer, a trailblazer, a guy who marches to the beat of his own drum, to be that guy who did whatever the hell he wanted and didn't kowtow, didn't shill, was a rebel. That's who Michael Bisping was. If you watched him in the early days, 06, 07, 08, 09, that's who he was. The British bad boy, the shaved head, spits on your corner, tells you what he thinks of you, doesn't hold back, no filter. That's exactly who he was. And the guy that I was watching in that clip in particular, and the guy that we have seen over the past year or so, what he has morphed into, what he has turned into, is the polar opposite of that guy. And he knows this, and he knows that guy once existed, and he has to look at himself in the mirror each and every day and pretend like he is still that guy, and pretend perhaps like that guy never existed, when he knows that he has morphed into this zombie, this shill, this guy who has had his brain infected by this virus, all because he wants someone to be like, good on you, mate. Here's $5,000 to call the next Apex card, and please do your best to put over how great all of this is. And if you do a good job, we'll pat you on the head and give you the next big slap fighting gig at the Fontainebleau.
Okay. That is part one of the slam. That was like a 2-minute or 3-minute or whatever rant. Just like, again, just showing Ariel just weaving this tapestry, this little story of coming in and saying, hey, yeah, and almost starting out with sort of like a pseudo compliment of being like, you used to be the bad boy, you used to do whatever you want. And then to morph into this, basically just calling him a total, just bending over and doing things only for the purpose of getting in the good graces of the UFC. And is that the case? I don't think that's legitimately why he's doing it. I don't think necessarily his narrative is accurate. I'm sure Ariel's also doing this for comedic effect. And I don't think Bisping's whole approach to Ariel and all of a sudden thinking he's a knob and saying all these things, I don't think that's right. I'm not exactly sure what's happened, but to me, it just feels as though he's not doing it to get in the good graces. I think he's legitimately had his mind changed about Ariel, maybe through interactions with Dana White would be my guess, and maybe with other folks that are anti-Ariel, because there's a lot of those guys in the UFC, or at least a fair number, maybe not a lot in terms of meaning majority, but there could be a fair amount, and that's what I think has happened. Or maybe he's heard some other stories or interactions, and I think that now his mind has been changed, and he's not shy about it. Michael Bisping's not shy about anything. He'll say whatever. So regardless, however this happened, I don't think it's just to get in the good grace of a man. Ariel really sticks it to them there. It's not, I don't know. I don't believe that's exactly accurate, but the way he lays it out, I just feel like that's pretty brutal, especially to paint a fighter and to paint somebody like Michael Bisping with his personality in that way. I imagine that's got to be a massive insult. I don't think Michael Bisping is going to respond to this, by the way. I have a feeling he's not. I think he's going to let sleeping dogs lie, or whatever the expression is. That's my 2 cents. I don't think he wants to engage anymore with Ariel. Okay, but listen, he keeps going. It's not over yet.
This is what he is striving for. He is striving for someone to one day say, like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for saying that about big, bad, ugly Ariel Helwani, so that maybe one day he could get on that, I don't know, that fight night in Austin, Texas, and then maybe just one day if something happens to DC and if something happens to Rogan and if something happens to Dominic Cruz, he can maybe get that pay-per-view all to get there. And that's exactly what he's become. He's become the guy who will try to do anything in his power to curry favor with his bosses, as much as he doesn't want to admit that, just so that he can get that opportunity, that big break, to call that big fight at your local Apex, your local arena in some random place in America. And so he has to turn to this. He has to become this. And that's
So I want to give a little bit more context as to why this is such a brilliant, and it's such a kind of, I want to say hurtful, but I don't know if it's exactly hurtful to Bisping, but it's such a picture perfect insult for a person like Bisping. So you may say this to a regular person out there on the streets. Hey, you're just willing to bend over backwards to basically get up and make headway and climb the ranks in this particular company. And for most people, that's what most people are doing who work for large organizations. They want to climb the ranks. They want to do what's right. Yeah, of course. What's the insult there? Yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing to be a good employee. But for guys like my co-host on the show, Justin, or other UFC fighters, I think these guys a lot of times do view themselves as anti-establishment, as rebels, as pioneers, as guys who just don't fit in necessarily in the regular positions or jobs or whatnot in the world. And instead, but they take this alternative route to success. They literally fight their way into riches and fame and whatever they need for their family. And so and Michael Bisping is like the epitome of this, because as Ariel mentioned, within the fighting world, he was the bad boy, he was the rebel, he was the guy that just didn't care if people were booing him, because he just always was true to himself and would say whatever to whomever, whenever. And now he's essentially, whether or not this is true, he's painting Bisping as basically completely going soft and no longer being this rebel, this bad boy, but now just being a total company man and doing things just to curry favor with the UFC, with his bosses. And now he's a good boy and trying to climb the ranks and just hoping, just praying that they're going to give him something as opposed to taking something, which is the fighter mentality, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying I agree with Ariel here in this way, because I actually don't think this is what's happened. I kind of explained already what I think is really going on. It's somewhere in between what each of them are saying. But my point is it's a brilliant insult, because for somebody like Michael Bisping, I think this is going to cut deep. Whether or not it's true, I think it's just, once again, shows Ariel's abilities on the mic. Okay, let's keep going.
That's a bummer, because I remember the old guy, and the old guy was actually a really good friend. And all of a sudden he just changed, and he says all these things and he makes up these stories, and he has this vitriol and this venom towards me, who has never done anything but support him, but have his back, told the stories many times. And so he now teams up with Flat Earth Froch, who can't stop talking about me, even though he says he doesn't want to talk about me. All he does is talk about me. And so I said, yeah, the bootlicker and the bellend, like I'm not that interested. It did nothing to me whatsoever. Those two guys coming together talking about me. What did I didn't sell out 80,000. I didn't win a world title. Who the hell am I? I'm a nobody. I shouldn't be on your radar. I'm just a guy out here who can't get into MMA. What have I done?
That little jab is so good, because again, Bisping is like, no, he's not in MMA. He wants to be in MMA. Nice little jab there. And again, as I mentioned in the video yesterday too, of course you can't say Ariel's not in MMA. That's his bread and butter. He's been talking about the sport since its inception, before anybody cared about it. You got to at least give him credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I'm just a nothing. Why do I seem to bother you so much? Why do I seem to trigger you so much? I know all about what Froch has done. He's had an illustrious career, a Hall of Fame career, 80,000, George Groves. I know about Boardwalk Hall. I know about the couple fights in Atlantic City, the one fight at the nightclub in LA. I know that there was like a couple hundred people there, that if he walked down Times Square, no one knows who he is, and that he would have moved the needle here in America, and says that he would donate his purse to charity if he fought Jake Paul. We know all of this, and we also know he is desperate for that fight, and yet he keeps trying to drum this up with me and call me all these names. When I've invited him to come on and to go on his show and to simulcast it and all these things, and I've DM'd him and he hasn't responded. He's read it, but then he'll go on his show and pretend like I haven't reached out to him. We've established all of this, but ultimately the feeling was sadness because of what Bisping in particular has become, because this is someone that I've met his family. I liked him. I considered him one of my close friends. Did his documentary, all these things, had him on for the book, and then all of a sudden he realized, like a few others, if I just talk shit about this guy, maybe, just maybe, I too can call UFC Vegas 104. So we all have decisions to make, and that appears to have been his. He'll come around like they all do. I can assure you of that. Free.
Well, there we go. That is it. A brutal response. A classic 10-7. We haven't seen one of these 10-7s from Ariel in quite some time. A couple of observations I will say. Look, as I mentioned, I don't think that's exactly why Bisping is doing it. I think something changed his mind along the way. Maybe it was conversations with other folks, conversations with Dana White or the UFC brass, and somehow his perspective or opinion of Ariel has changed. But you can see the honest bewilderment and confusion in Ariel's eyes when he talks about this. He's like, I don't know what changed or what I did, because I don't think it's something that he actually did. It seems obvious that there was no specific moment where they had a falling out. But instead, I think Michael Bisping had a change of heart for whatever reason. Again, I don't know why, and this is what happened. But anyways, Ariel responds with one of these good old-fashioned 10-7s. Again, that's the inspiration for the name of our channel, 10-7 MMA. You can see it on the logo in the upper right-hand corner. And that's it. We are back. Ariel is back in the mix. What does he calls it himself? The Helwani. Helwani is back in full effect. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think this is over? Do you think Bisping comes back? I don't think he does. I think he's going to let sleeping dogs lie, leave it alone. And honestly, if I was on Bisping's team, I would tell him to leave it be, because Ariel will do this all day long, go back and forth. And honestly, he's pretty darn good at at finishing these beefs or winning these beefs. So I would say that's what I would tell Michael Bisping. Let it be, leave it alone, move on. It is what it is. But we got to give it to Ariel here. He fires back and he fires back. It's a pure 10-7, pure victory all the way around. And that's it. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comments. Like this video if you did like it, and make sure to click subscribe if you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA channel. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.